Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third workshop of week 2 for the Autonomous Apes AI Agent Trading Hackathon. Today, we've got a really good workshop for you. If you remember from the launch event, Derek from Recall spoke quite a lot about Moonward and Moonsage and their agent Moonsage. And we have for you a member of their team to come up and speak to you today. So we have the expert himself, Vontarius Falls from Moonward Capital, to speak to you about Moonsage. So really looking forward to this one. And I'm inviting him up to the screen now. Hi there.
Hi everyone, excited to be here.
So I'll let you share your screen and I'll give the stage to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll be diving into go-to-market strategy for agentic economies. The focus is going to be on alignment over attention. I think most people are used to marketing itself in the world of SaaS, standard B2B, etc. But things have changed dramatically, especially in the agentic economy. And I look at good go-to-market as distribution and aligning yourself. So to preface this, we're going to go a little bit into who I am, the premise of this entire talk, what makes agents different. We're going to give a case study on our agent Moonsage, our system Gem Hunter, and CryptoPulse itself. We're going to look at the go-to-market flywheel for agents, and then we're going to dive into what alignment actually looks like. So about me, I'm CMO at Moonward Capital. If you're not familiar with us already, we're a 2-time winner of the Recall trading tournaments with our flagship agent Moonsage. I'm a Web3 native since 2019. I'm an AI maximalist. I test out, leverage a lot of tools, and I've been using AI since about 2019, primarily to grow standard Web2 businesses. So I'm a little bit familiar with AI in general. I'm a former marketing firm owner, 5-figure deal clients in the nonprofit space, hold certifications from Northern University, IE University on market research and consumer behavior, Geese College of Business and Developing Winning Marketing Strategies, Copenhagen Business School, focusing on consumer neuroscience and neuromarketing, and from the American Negotiation Institute as a negotiation professional. So the premise of this is an agent go-to-markets, they're not the same as SaaS go-to-markets. In agent economies, alignment is going to be your go-to-market. Chasing hype is not the same as long-term alignment. It actually creates misalignment. We'll often see with most companies, especially in the Web3 space, they chase that short-term hype simply for the sake of gaining users as fast as possible. In traditional SaaS, this is a great model. But in agentic economies, it is not going to work well. I look at agents themselves as personalities, the same way I would look at it an individual, right? And I think we should reframe what we think an agent itself is. Whereas an agent, the forward-facing persona you see from an agent is essentially a mascot, right? The back system is actually what makes up that agent. So you could look at the system defining an agent being its brain, its lungs, its heart, etc. Those are the things that make an agent tick. Those are the things that deliver the results that we'd want from an agent. What you typically interact with is the mascot, the frontward facing. Just the same way you interact with our agent Moonsage, you're interacting with the frontward facing persona, but on the back end, there's a complex system making up what that persona is. And so you want to align that system with other systems rather than the persona with other systems. We want, of course, agents to connect with individuals, with consumers, etc. But we want to make sure that the systems that we're building in the back end actually align with who we're looking to reach, what we're looking to accomplish, etc. So in traditional go-to-market, you're gonna have ads. You're gonna chase attention because go-to-market, and especially in SaaS economies, it's focused on um, the entire ethos of it is being an attention economy, right? It's constantly ebbing and flowing. You have companies that come, launch a product, they do great for a little while because they've achieved a certain amount of hype, and then they disappear. Especially prominent within the Web3 space. And of course, you have your focus on PR, right? Public relations, maintaining your image, creating an image, and then growing and scaling that image. And agent go to market's more focused on the outputs that you're giving, right? The integrations that you have, the compounding use cases, right? You want to scale those things. Those are what matter. Go to market and Web2, it's customer acquisition funnel conversion, right? You wanna prevent churn. In agent economies, you're wanting to design outputs that others actually want to build on. Do these individuals want to leverage the systems that you have, right? With our agents, do you actually want to leverage the system on the back end that we have that's fueling our agent to generate this success? Because then you can replicate that success, right? With SaaS and other businesses, typically they like to keep these things proprietary. With most SaaS, you're going to have them working to ship out products that they generate, but they're not going to work to give you some of their secret sauce, right? Because then it would defeat the purpose of them being a scalable and profitable company if you can replicate that in its entirety. Whereas with our systems, within agentic systems, you want to be able to give those things out. You keep a portion of that to yourself, but for the most part, you are able to deliver those outputs and allow other agents to leverage those. Hype fades, but ecosystem fit compounds, right? So think of integration, think of putting yourself in position to scale with other communities that are significantly focused on the same areas that you're focused on, because they are more than likely going to integrate pieces of your system. Agents need usage, they need reusage, they need integration, not just users. We don't want people just to leverage Moonsage and what it has to offer, right? We want to integrate Moonsage and and the ecosystems that we align with. We want to integrate CryptoPulse, which is one of the back end systems for macro analysis, into a lot of the ecosystem we align with, into other agents that we feel fit well with leveraging our types of systems that we've created, with other businesses that we feel could benefit from leveraging our systems. And we want those to scale because users come and go, but those integrations and being a key part of what makes another system tick is more valuable in the long run. That's alignment for us. And the key question is going to be, how many of you are actually thinking in terms of ecosystem integration versus user attraction, right? How many of you are chasing retail instead of chasing integrations? So what actually makes agents different? Well, agents receive an input, they process those inputs, typically a lot of them, because you need data, you need flowing data, maybe historical data, maybe current data. You need acts and or outputs, and then you feed other agents and or users with those acts or outputs. These agents are continuously and autonomously operating, right? They're self-sufficient. You build out a system that runs automatically, right? It typically requires little to zero human intervention or human in the loop. That's the type of systems we like to build. That's the type of world that we see agents existing in, right? Where they're autonomously able to execute, transact, etc., with little human oversight, right? They generate value. These aren't just responses. Think about your favorite KOL right now. They're shilling tokens, right? But there's not a means of tracking whether or not this individual is actually shilling things that are credible. They're not necessarily autonomous, right? It's manual. It's a human, right? Whereas with agents, they continuously do this at scale. And then because of the beauty of competitions like with recall, we can actually validate whether the outputs that they're giving are actually profitable, are actually relevant, are actually credible. These outputs actually become inputs, whether it's going to be for human or agent. All right, for humans, they can go and apply this information the same way that you would prompt ChatGPT, Claude, excuse me, Gemini, etc. Google's agent, and get these different outputs from it, and then use that as an input for what you're going to act on. in the same way as that information from another agent, maybe our agent, maybe another agent, would become an information source and a means of leverage for another system. So your go-to-market must reflect that, right? It's not just about the features that you're able to provide, it's about the function within a specific network or networks. And that scales because of agents and their ability to distribute at scale and autonomously. So, of course, our case study is going to be on Moonsage, Gem Hunter, and CryptoPulse. And these are the core three systems that most people who are familiar with Moonward interact with. Moonsage being our forward persona, the wizard we all know and love, current two-time winner of the recall trading tournaments. Gem Hunter being our deep research system for tokens. We've shielded a bunch. We think it's amazing. It creates qualitative and quantitative reports on different tokens that individuals input into it. They're also able to access an API that does this for them. And then there's CryptoPulse also, who monitors macro sentiment, takes in a lot of different data sources, everything from Reddit, X, news, Telegram, Discord, etc. It's focused on trends, right? So Gem Hunter and CryptoPulse are the backend systems making up what Moonsage actually is, right? They're the systems, the heart and the brain, I would say, that fuel this public-facing persona or execution system, Moonsage, right? So it's doing the rebalance. Moonsage is doing the rebalancing. It's doing the exits and the entries on tokens. It's interpreting signals and it's making clear, decisive actions on those things. But those two systems are the core pieces that make up Moonsage. If it weren't for those systems, then Moonsage would not be capable of doing what it's doing, right? So we want to align CryptoPulse and Gem Hunter. We want to distribute to other systems. That's what our go-to-market looks like. We want to distribute to other systems that are able to leverage these two products because they are what make Moonsage what it is. Moonsage is not necessarily the distribution system or the key value prop. It's these two systems that actually make up what Moonsage is. Moonsage just does the things that interprets these things that are being distributed from these two multi-agent stacks, CryptoPulse and Gem Hunter. So if you've seen, as we've competed in 2 of the tournaments hosted by Recall Network, and we did amazing in both of them. But this isn't a result of just Moonsage, like I mentioned, who is the execution agent. It's a result of the backend systems that are actually making up Moonsage, right? The CryptoPulse, Gem Hunter. Without these systems working in tandem and both of them having an actual swarm of about 50 agents that is curating, creating, analyzing, etc. This would not be possible at all. So it's a very complex system, but these systems are what make what we do possible, right? We thought it was best to align our launches with the different products that we're shipping with these competitions and during these competitions, right? We prove live what we're doing works rather than creating pitch decks or writing consistent threads. Because in the Web3 space, we get a lot of that. And I feel like most of it, from my opinion and perspective, I feel like most of it is talk, right? I prefer to walk it rather than just talk it. And if we are going to talk it, we're going to walk it like we talk it. So what better way to do so than proving it live in tournaments, showing that we can get in there and actually execute. Because we see the barrier of entry for launching an agent becoming almost zero, especially a trading agent. We see a lot of agents giving out a bunch of advice on Twitter, on Farcaster, on the internet, etc., about gems, about trading, but these agents aren't actually competing and showing that they make profits. So the best way to do that is in a public-facing system, at one of the biggest public-facing systems for proving that you can profit from the type of advice you give. Because why give advice if you're not going to take your own advice, especially profitable advice related to profits and finances, if you're not profitable or actually scale your advice. So go to market flywheel for agents. Well, it starts with utility, right? You want to have meaningful outputs. You want to be able to synthesize mass amounts of information and then turn those into meaningful outputs that others can leverage. So those look like signals insights or actions. If you check out our Twitter, you'll see that we are constantly generating signals and giving insights about different aspects of the market. This is generated by Crypto Pulse. Soon we'll actually be delivering trading signals from Jim Hunter directly to maybe our social media, maybe directly inside of our Telegram. So there's some alpha there. 2, you want to reuse those outputs. So you want to make them modular, composable, right? So you want to have MCP so that agents are able to communicate and pull directly from your system and get those types of inputs from the outputs that you're generating, right? We want to make it plug and play. That's how you actually scale, truly scale in an agent economy. Because agents need to communicate in the same way that we can hop in a Discord, we can hop in a Telegram group, a Twitter group, etc. We can chat, we can share information and communicate with each other. We want agents, not just within these groups specifically, but we want agents to be able to communicate with what we have as MCP and have conversations with each other and actively share and receive the different alpha of that trading systems or whatever type of output your agent is generating. 3, integration. You want embedding, you want automation, right? So we have APIs for our system, right? So we're also able to target businesses because agents aren't just going to be the only consumers of the offerings that individuals typically have. Businesses want these things too. Remember that it's not just about the forward-facing persona of the agent that you have. It's also about the back-end systems that you've created. Most of these are actually going to be systems that can help businesses themselves scale because agents have that ability, right? You want to automate a lot of the processes that go on within other businesses. So you want to create APIs based off of the systems that you have because this information, this data, and the way that it's leveraged is valuable. All right. You want to connect into Discords, Telegrams, dashboards, etc. You want to make your agent as accessible as possible. The name of the game is distribution, right? Distribution is king. All right. So the more places that your agent is accessible, the more places it can be leveraged. Allows you to scale much faster, right? Some agents, some systems specifically aren't made to be accessible through these places, but having the ability to distribute them is one of the key things that you need. So whether or not your intention is to be a public facing or a retail facing product with your systems, with your agent, you still want the ability to be able to enable that embedding via an API or through an automation, webhook, etc. You still want the ability to connect into a Discord, a Telegram, any type of dashboard, etc. Right? You want to have that ability for distribution, whether or not your plan is to service retail or not. Feedback. Feedback is probably the most important, right? Your agent needs to learn, your system needs to learn, it needs to adapt, it needs to continuously improve. If not, it gets left behind quickly, especially in the Web3 space, especially with AI and automations, because things move so fast. I like to think that Web3 moves at the speed of thought and as the barrier to entry for creating and scaling and growing these systems or as constantly being reduced every other day, it's going to require that you're actually able to take in as much feedback as possible, and then you're able to improve, or your system can do so automatically. Right? You want to track and rebalance that the impact, the amount of adoption, the API usage. Like these are metrics, clear and easily obtainable metrics that you need to consistently watch and work on scaling and use that to refine what you have, right? Whether it be the signals that you're providing and or the decisions that you're making within your organization or that your system, the systems that the decision process that your system has, right? And then it loops back all the way back to number one. And then you start with those meaningful outputs again. So what does alignment look like? Well, it looks like repeat API usage, right? External systems consistently leveraging your system, right? I'll double down on it again. The agent itself, what most people consider an agent is the public facing persona. Like most people are familiar with AI XPT, right? Your favorite froggy friend who is shilling and posting on Twitter, but it's the back engine, right? The back end, the engine, and that no one else sees that is actually creating all of these things, right? Can you access those systems with an API or via MCP? You want to be able to access those systems, right? So agents constantly hitting your endpoint, right? That's proof that they've integrated the outputs into their workflows. It's clear that they need what we have to offer, right? That shows us that there's alignment right there. That's where the real agent-to-agent value creation begins. The percentage of gem hunter picks we use in user portfolios, for us, that's what we're measuring, right? Not just individuals viewing the types of outputs that we're generating, whether via our dashboard or whether they're accessing it via the API and pulling those reports. All right, we want to be able to know that these individuals are leveraging these, and the amount and the percentage of those token picks that are being leveraged lets us know that there's clear alignment there. It tells us which tokens aren't just interesting, but align with the user's thesis and the timing. All right, it's all about timing. It's all about user thesis. All right, some individuals may want to invest in AI specific gems. All right, all of the tokens within the gem hunter portfolio may not be AI specific gems, but if some of those are, and individuals see that the outputs being generated by our system align well with the thesis that they have and the timing that they choose to invest, then we know we're doing something right. So, inbound integration requests, organic interest, right? That's the strongest go to market indicator. Individuals who are reaching out to us and letting us know that they want to leverage our systems, or when we have conversation with individuals and they show organic interest about whether they want to integrate our systems, right? It may not always be immediate. Some deals, some conversations, it may take a couple of weeks because everyone's building, everyone's busy, right? Take a couple of weeks, couple of months. I've met companies um, a month, 2 months prior, and we spark back up a conversation because of the building that we're doing, because of the advancements that have happened in the space recently. And then from there, like they seek to integrate, and it's clear that there is heavy alignment based on direction, because sometimes it takes a little bit longer than others, right? So the signals that our stack is providing is perceived as valuable, right? We want individuals to see the information that our systems from Gem Hunter or CryptoPulse is something that they can integrate into their system and then become equally as successful or more successful with, right? Those things let us know that we're aligned heavily, right? If it can plug into your entire system, if it can be a key piece of what makes you successful, there's heavy alignment for us, right? So it's not just about product, it's about having a platform. Agent on agent commerce, MCP, it's huge. Model context protocol, right? It's the new buzzword, right? But it's very important, right? We're wanting to track who's paying who across agents, right? So that pure agent to agent commerce is what we're going to be heavily interested in. Being able to see agents communicate, maybe even seeing their thinking process on why they should actually leverage the inputs of these agents, these inputs and outputs. So seeing that another agent is requesting usage of our trading strategy and or macro analysis system in CryptoPulse or Gem Hunter picks, because it's seeing that we've successfully won a couple of recall competitions. It's seeing that the outputs that we're generating lead to profitability. That lets us know that economically, like there's weight behind what our system is delivering. It's a high signal of trust, alignment, and utility. And I think what most people in an agent to agent economy should be longing for, because that's what retention looks like. It's not about how often users log in, it's about how often your agent gets used. It's not about humans, it's about other agents. And I think the way we approach go to market with agents specifically, the perspective that we have and how we do that is going to require a drastic mind shift and a perspective shift on how we do so. So, like, as a recap, retention, overreach, right? Agent success is not about going viral. It's about becoming embedded. It's not about having the most hype on Twitter, Farcaster, YouTube, TikTok, your Reddit, your favorite social media. Those things are good, but they're not the most important. Because I'm sure you've seen within, especially within the Web3 space, it is much easier to fall off than it is to maintain and have retention. It's retention is one of the most important metrics to me. And for us, and for agentic systems, that requires becoming embedded and constantly improving your backend systems and products so that they're consistently being used and scaled. Reuse is way more valuable than visibility. You don't have to be the most seen agent or system to be the most used agent or system, right? You can be boring, but profitable and scalable. Launch cycles, heavily overrated. Agents aren't products, they evolve. I look at them more as people. They're consistently learning, they're consistently scaling, they're consistently growing. That's because the systems behind them are typically designed to do so. And if they're not, then they're bound to fail. You want ongoing incremental output is it's the new launch, right? And you want consistent outputs. You want outputs that are better over X amount of time, and you want to be able to measure that, right? Because in the same way an individual evolves, typically you won't see an individual creating the same type of content that they had a year ago. All right, like the topic, the thesis, etc., may be the same, but the type of content, the depth of that content, the granularity of that content typically evolves. They become better at what they do, right? We want the same thing with agents, but we can 10x, we can 50x that, we can 100x that. These are the way that these systems operate. We want to compound inside ecosystems, right? This is huge. Great agents make other agents or humans more effective, right? I feel like it's better with agents specifically because you can compound this, right? You can partner with an agent distribution network and you can scale and meet agents where they are and have 100 agents um, effectively use your system as at launch. Whereas with humans, it's a little bit more difficult, especially with retail. If your output makes someone else's loop much tighter than you win, you've done something correct, right? So go to market equals contribution, not just campaigns, right? Agent go to market, it's not about those moments that you have where you generate that hype, right? Where you go through a 3-month period of building interest. It's not just that. It's about becoming part of the fabric of another system. You want to be a part of the chemical makeup of another system and allow it to scale and grow and become successful, right? You succeed when your agent is missed if removed. Not just the agent, which is the public facing persona, but when I say agent, I mean the system, right? When the backend system, when the API is no longer being leveraged, when the MCP connection is lost, then something fundamentally that was driving another system and making it move forward is gone all of a sudden, right? You need that. You want to be a key cog in the machine for making another system successful. So if you want your agent to scale, build it to participate, not just perform. Build it to be successful in its outputs, for it to incrementally evolve, for it to scale, and for it to be a necessary component for the success of another system. Thank you. That's the end. You can always contact me at Vontarius@moonward.net. Our website is moonward.net, and you can follow myself at VontariusF on most social media, and Moonward Capital, of course, on most social media at Moonward Capital. Thank you. I see there's questions. Um, yeah, I can definitely dive right into these questions actually. Any tips on trading in a recall sandbox? How does price impact work? Is there any delay between sandbox prices and actual on-chain prices? I don't think I am the one to answer that question, honestly. I'm, I'm not the one, even though I'm building out my own systems, I'm not the one who's managing the implementation side of things within the work in the sandbox. That's other members of our team are. So that would be out of my scope to answer. But feel free to message me, whether within the agent chat that is there with Recall on Telegram or in the Encode Discord, and I can facilitate the answer to that question from someone from our team so that we can definitely assist. Are the safeguards for automatically screening inputs from other agents sufficiently developed? Trying to avoid being spammed by other agents. I don't think the safeguards for screening inputs from other agents isn't there, and I think that's why it's crucial that we have platforms or systems where you can automatically filter those things out, whether it be through competitions like recalls, where you can actively see that the outputs of an agent that is supposed to be profitable if it's trading, or if they scale and when they scale to other forms of outputs from agents and are able to measure those. You want to be able to have a clear way of knowing whether or not like it's not spam. Like the inputs of other agents are, it's hard to measure unless the system ever do so. So right now it's not sufficiently developed, but I think we will be getting to that point. It may just take a while, but with the types of builders that I've seen within the space, we'll get there sooner than later. can the system plug into existing MCPs? Something like an agent-to-agent architecture. Excellent presentation so far. Thank you for the compliment on the presentation. So our system, yes, we are actually working on MCP for our system. Right now, we just have APIs available. So CryptoPulse can be accessed via API. GemHunter, which is the deep research system for tokens, which is what we use for sourcing and vetting tokens that Moonstage trades in these tournaments. Strategy is separate, right? That requires something a little different. That's something that we don't currently have available, but some alpha for the people tuning in. We may have that available soon, strategy for you to access. But as of right now, yeah, we do have it available via API, just not MCP yet. Give us some time. We're definitely going to ship it. We're working towards it, whether it be the end of this month or the following month. But we have a small, very crack team who's very interested in building these types of things. So we may have it very soon. Percentage of Gem Hunter picks. What's the ground truth source for detecting that a token pick actually entered a user portfolio? Do you use something on-chain analytics or self-reporting? So as of right now, we're working on creating a system so that we can track these things because we're working on an actual execution engine. Because individuals, as of right now, leveraging our platform or leveraging Gem Hunter, they actually have to do it manually if they want to use the tokens that we have. So you would have to go in, you could see the entry and or exit signs for whatever token we have in the Gem Hunter system database. So it's manual as of right now, but we are working towards having a non-custodial way. Excuse me. We are working towards having a non-custodial way for individuals to have their portfolio rebalance maybe. So in that regard, we would be able to track these things. So it's something we're working towards, and it would allow us to know whether or not an individual is having a specific token in their portfolio, because maybe you could define whether or not we want tokens of a specific subsector, or you have a specific risk size. And from there, like we would be able to rebalance the portfolio maybe. All right. So, and that would allow us to track those things. Yeah, as of right now, it's manual, so it's not trackable for us at the moment. How to balance between abusive agents using the API without hurting the signal we're trying to measure. So we do rate limit with our APIs. So like it allows us to prevent abuse. I think you're referring to the amount of calls received to the API. So we have rate limiting. Right. So that's set up to prevent a lot of unnecessary calls, and we're able to track the amount of calls that are being made to the API. But I mean, like we look at it more as is the individual. We also go and check the individuals who are typically leveraging this. You have to sign up right now via the platform, so we can see who's creating keys and things like that. We can kind of track who's using what, or we can contact them in one way or another. We can look at their agent and their system. If we need to, we can shut down that access. But it is open to individuals. So like it's hard to create a barrier there, and we necessarily don't need a barrier. But we're able to create a system to prevent that abuse through rate limiting. It's one of the simplest ways, honestly. We don't have to make it too complex as of right now. How fast the space is moving. How do you keep someone integrating from suffering from upgrade fatigue? That's a great question, actually. I think it's going to be hard to keep up with every single upgrade, but within a competitive ecosystem, within a competitive space, it's going to require that you stay ahead of the curve. I mean, this is a decentralized world, and it requires that you stay ahead of the curve in one way or another. So, like, you kind of have to just be built for it. I would say don't seek to implement every single upgrade. You don't always have to be ahead of the pack, and it really depends on your end goal. If you're a business and you're working to compete, then you're gonna probably come into upgrade fatigue every now and then. But that's part of competing, right? It's like if you're a pro athlete, you have to train in the off season to be prepared for the actual season. You have to just just put in the work to be better and be able to handle these types of changes and things that come with it. If you're just an individual, I think, and you're not necessarily competing, but you're working on to make sure your systems are relevant. I would say build light, don't over integrate, especially early on. Like one of the things that I did early on that I learned from was I ended up launching an agent with a platform and built on top of their infra. And then as of a couple of months ago, the system actually had to wind down. So like the capital that I put into that agent, the system that I worked to build on that agent, completely on top of their infra, it's gone now. Right. So like things like that. But that's a risk we take within the space. So I say if you can build systems that aren't heavily reliant on others and that allow you and that are mostly plug and play, so that you can pull those systems out and then like embed another system when necessary. Right. So like it's like getting a model type car and then being able to make upgrades whenever you want. But knowing that even if you don't make those specific upgrades in the moment, your system, your car, your model, etc., still runs really well. It may not have the newest upgrades, but whenever you're ready and capable of upgrading it, you can. Thanks for all the great questions, by the way. And feel free to, of course, reach out to me.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. That was a really good workshop and a good sort of insight into how Moonward Capital have come about and push their way through in this space. So I think we'll probably call the workshop there unless anyone's got any other questions in the next sort of 20 seconds or so. And while we wait for that, I'll just make one or two admin announcements. One of which is that we have our office hours session tomorrow. So now, finishing, having finished the first 2 weeks of workshops, this is sort of the best time to ask questions, like technical or otherwise. If you just want to bounce your ideas off, or if you need help with your code, sort of integrating with any of the sponsors, then now's the time to do it. So there'll be an announcement about that tomorrow, where you can get the link for that. And otherwise, I think that's it. So I can't see any more questions. Thanks again, Vontarius. That was really good. And we will see you all soon. So thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Bye.